Hello. Greetings. I accidentally started off on the wrong screen, so that's fun. For anybody watching the replay on YouTube, I've started doing a very minor edit where I'm going to cut off that 5-minute waiting session, so you're not going to see what I'm talking about. But for those of us seeing live, or seeing the replays on Twitch, you'll see that. So yeah, I started off with being on this screen instead of my my starting soon screen. Oh well, this is life. Mistakes happen. But yeah, so here we are with our Phoenix. I am working on the embers and the flames today, since we got our Phoenix all inked in yesterday. And I have just a couple like really minor spots that I'll go ahead and change with the line work. Mainly this one. That line is an eyesore for me. And I'll probably do a minor edit here because the way these two lines came together, I don't like that angle. It feels a little abrupt, so minor tweaks. Overall though, I think we're good. And that's one of those, you know, for you fellow artists joining me, you know what I mean. You see the spots that go wrong, and for you it is a terrible eyesore, and nobody else would probably notice those right off the bat, but they're screaming in your head like, I messed up that line. But other than that, hopefully you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been erasing my little ghostly eraser, not eraser, my little ghostly pencil lines here and there. And I've broken out my chip brush, which I don't really use for a whole heck of a lot, so using that to just clean off my eraser skewing, so I'm less likely to you know, have graphite stored up in my brush, because that's probably the downside to the brush that I've been using. One of my watercolor brushes. It's a really great brush for juicy washes, so it's nice and fluffy, and that's why I've been using it for my eraser skewings, even though I probably shouldn't. I have some bad habits. I'd rather tell you about my bad habits, that way you don't get them to be your bad habits. And I'm not erasing over all of the line work. I'm basically just, okay, I see pencil line, and then I'm working on that. This one has like a little, here and there, there's like a ghost of a line, and I'm leaving them for the moment because I think I might go ahead and just sample those lines and like pull them up a little bit further into the body. I don't want to remix more of that ink for just two lines when I could just do a digital edit. Like that's a super simple edit for me to do, because it'll even be like the same angle. So I'll leave that one to the editing process. If I were going live with like this print is the be-all end-all, it has to go to somebody else to go ahead and scan and deal with, yes, I would absolutely take that extra step to go ahead and mix up more ink. But at this point, I'm moving on with other colors for this project. So I did go ahead and we'll go ahead and just bend this up a little bit so you can see the samples down here. This is these two are the original mixes for the Pyrrole Maroon and the Transparent Raw Sienna. This is what we wound up using. The second one. Well, third as far as if you were going 1, 2, 3, 4, but this one here is the one that we used for the Phoenix. This is my Transparent Burnt Sienna. And that is a really pretty orange. Because it's a little bit of a lighter tone, I'm actually going to use that for the flames as I move on now. I may re-outline a couple little spots for the flames that are up here, not attached to our Phoenix. Maybe. I'm not sure. I may go ahead and just retone these in Photoshop, because I didn't come up with the idea earlier to do the flame in an alternate color. So, my fault. But this is the idea that I really enjoy the thought of it. And I'm also going to use the muted gray for our embers here. The embers I penciled in are like really random, kind of jagged geometric shapes. Some of those will get softened a little bit because I've seen some embers that are a little bit more rounded and organic in shape. So that'll be just kind of freehand as I'm doing it. I'm going to do the top section of all these embers with the muted gray, and then I'm going to do the bottom with the transparent burnt sienna, because that'll help give it like a glow effect, and it'll also tie it into the flames, so I won't have... I'll have contrast, but I won't have too much contrast visually. So that's what I'm shooting for. What I do need to do, though, is knock down these pencil lines, so that is the first thing we're up to. And then I'm going to, with the muted gray, I'm going to thin that out. Because if I just do lines with this color, it'll be incredibly dark. It's gorgeous gray. But I'm going to add a bit of water to it because I want it about this value. Because I don't want to make these embers the focal point. I want to make sure that the phoenix is a little bit darker. And that way it's going to stand out as our focal. Excuse me, wow. Yeah, right before the stream went live, I kind of slugged down the last of my tea pretty quickly. I still have our kneaded eraser sitting out. I'm just gonna go over it with this edge and be careful of the clip. I don't want the clip to go ahead and grab the paper edge too much and crease it. I don't want to fix creases digitally. I can. I'd rather not. That's one thing I've really grown about. I'm trying to remember which site it was. I've done a couple like random learning type site memberships of the ones that are out there. I don't have sponsorship, and I also don't remember who it is, so I'm not really giving them any sponsorship. But there was this great one about just photo editing in general, and some of the work behind on that, and it really stressed the importance of, like, if you can just get it live and don't have to spend all that time editing, of course that's going to be better, because that's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. These digital adjustments can easily be done, well, some of them easier than others, but it's extra work, especially if you're going to take the steps to make it realistic. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen people posting some really wacky photoshopped images on like sites like Amazon, where it's like, that product wasn't there. It looks god-awful because they didn't sit there and tone like the texture of the rest of the photo the same. They did terrible with their color grading. They don't have like light sources matching. It is ugh. And it's like, just commit to like doing a new shoot, please. Like, stop trying to just shoehorn these photos in places that they don't belong. Like, ow. It's definitely a little cringe factor for me. With how this one sweeps down. Oh, I have this one down here too. Never mind. I was thinking, like, I thought this one was the last one. I was like, there's one more flame here. It's just really, really light. I was thinking about changing the shape of the flames, but that is a whole debate for me, because I can't just grab one of my 5x7 mats and just pop it on top and see how the framing is going to work for this, because I did this sketch larger than I should have. I did it with not much in the way of margins, so if I popped a 5x7 frame on here, stuff is getting cut off, just flat out. So I'm actually going to have to reduce this a little bit in Photoshop. Okay, good. Our frames did pull off with the animation. Hopping over to our friends on Twitch, because like I said, I do watch the live video feed primarily, and that's just because with the live feed I could see what's going on, and if my camera is in focus, I try to pay attention to that. There's definitely moments where I forget. We're human. I get involved in the art. That's my favorite part. Alright. It's great having company. I absolutely love having you guys hop on, especially like comments in the feed overall, or on the video posts, because that helps me to figure out what I need to change, what can be better. Because the better I make this, the more interesting it is for you, the more value you get from it, and that is a goal of mine. I just put away the eraser, but I want to tap this down just a touch more. I'm going to just really try to be soft, because the transparent burnt sienna is pretty transparent. I mean, it's right there in the name. So I want to make sure that I don't have too much graphite that's going to be showing through these flames. So I'm just knocking a couple areas down a little further. I'm really loving how this is shaping up. In fact, since this is so close to done, I've started thinking about what's next for the channel. And that's probably going to be some finishing work for another print that I was making for a dear friend, Nikki. Because it is long overdue, because it's a spring-themed print, and here we're quite into spring. Oh, this one's a little darker than I'd like. Alright. That should be enough. Trying to be better about putting these eraser crumbs towards me instead of toward the back of my desk. I'm probably going to find a ton of them the next time I do a desk clearing. It's silliness, things that I don't think about. But yeah, the front of my desk gets swept a lot more often than the back. So that is a better idea for me. I kind of wish I'd curved this one out a little further. That would have been nice. But oh well. I digress. I need to get ink. The debate is which to start with. I think I'm going to start with the muted gray. And hopefully the music's at a good volume for you guys to hear me over it. Just for me, I have to keep adjusting my my inline headset volume, because I don't want the music to be so loud I can't hear myself over it, so that way I'm not, like, yelling over the music. So I don't want to do that, and because that's effectively, like, yelling in your ear. I'm gonna move these off, the Purely Maroon and Transparent Raw Sienna. I don't think I'm using them, but because I'm not done this, it's just general practice for me to leave supplies out until that piece is done. Because if I did feel that I absolutely want to do a little bit more line work on the Phoenix, then I have those there. They are available. I still have the Transparent Raw Umber out too. Ooh, bad me. I still have the whole transparent set is just off the edge of my desk behind my chair here, so it should be good. Yeah, that's right. I said I was going into the gray first. Alright. So, same as usual. Doing for thinning it out. I'm going to start with a drop of the gray, because there's not a whole lot of embers. And I figure with my random number 8 round, I have no idea what brand it is. It's just a synthetic round. It's part of a really cheap crafting set, but it holds enough shape and holds enough water to control this. So I find it good for loading up my calligraphy nib. Just trying to get some nice water droplets, and I don't know. Oh, there we go. That's what I didn't do. Normally, instead of just dipping the brush at some point when I'm wetting it, Go ahead and splay the bristles a little bit in the water cup. I'm starting with 3 drops of water. It's a little lighter than I do for other colors. I think with the Purely Maroon mix I only did like 1, but that's because I know the raw sienna is so transparent. I didn't want to thin it too far, so I want to make sure that the Purely Maroon had a chance to kind of shine through that. Yeah, this is pretty watered down. This is what I want. Alright. This might actually be a little bit too watery, so we're gonna do an initial test to see how this guy flows and holds. It should work as an ink. Luckily I'm not doing like washes over this. I feel like that is a bit thin. Yeah, I feel like that's too thin. Okay, so slight change of plan. For one, I'm gonna park this brush down here, and I'm gonna move it away from the piece just a touch so it's less likely to be able to roll that far. And I'm going to clean my nib for a second too, because what I'm going to do is I have some acrylic medium, just clear acrylic medium, and I'm gonna add a drop of that just to help with the viscosity, just a touch. Alright, so this particular one is golden acrylic GAC 100, and it's a very thin liquid acrylic, and this will be good for just beefing up the viscosity just a touch, because that's a touch too watery for my liking. Liquitex absolutely has their own. I don't remember the name of it, but you are welcome to use that if that's what you have. It's just, use the materials you have. Any liquid liquid acrylic extender is going to work pretty good for that. So don't be fussy. Don't run out and get that if you already have stuff. Now, if you are venturing pretty strongly into the world of acrylics and you don't have those types of mediums, and you will be needing them, like if you're doing what I'm doing, yeah, then absolutely go out and get it. It's good stuff. So now the viscosity feels, it doesn't make a huge difference, and right now it's given kind of a bluish tint because of the water in this mix, and that's fine. But that is ever so slightly more viscous. And I'm doing the tops of the embers to go ahead and give that a little bit of shading here. And that should dry a little bit darker than it is. I'm going to curl up the edge of the page here so I can come down, and we're going to zoom in a little bit. As long as I can get this up high enough without feeling I'm going to crease the paper. I don't mind a gentle fold. Oh, not... No, fold's the wrong word. I don't mind a gentle roll or a curve. There we go. And with this particular piece, I am all about the line work. We're not doing any shading, no hatching for this version, which is a little bit tough for me because I am very fond of doing some ink washes or some cross hatching. Some of these I erased a lot. So the reason why we're tackling this in this order is while I'm waiting for this layer to dry, I'll be jumping over to the flames and doing those with the burnt sienna, and then I'll be able to come back and do the bottom layer with the burnt sienna so that way it looks like it's glowing. Oh, I moved out of frame, sorry. Why does my lighting seem a little dark today? Let me just check my lights. Okay. One light's at full brightness, the other one was not. So, that's better. This one light seems to still have a mind of its own. And I have over-erased some of my lines, so some of this is a little hard for me to see. That's alright. It's kind of weird figuring out, okay, what's the top? How much of this do I want to be our shadow? And these are just fun little things to explore. It's like a really random mosaic over here. I'll leave some of these to glow a little bit more, some of them to be just a touch more shadow. My little one's a little bit bored today. His sister was playing on the PlayStation earlier, but she went to have lunch and hasn't come back up. So he's not able to just watch what she's doing on the screen. And unfortunately, I can't just have my... I normally have the radio playing for him, but I can't do that while I'm streaming because if that gets picked up, YouTube will not be too pleased with me. I'm seeing how long this brush load will last. I'm not too worried about it running out in the middle of a line because this is pretty random and organic. That looks really wacky right now. Hopefully it'll seem a little bit more logical by the time we get in here and add the other half of the lines. I don't know, this is an effect that I haven't tried before, so I'm kind of excited / nervous to see how it shakes out. And I have one really big one over here, and you know what, I think I'll keep it. I was debating that one because that was one of the first that I drew before I decided to do generally smaller shapes. I don't think I had one over there, I'm not sure. It's alright. Alright, so here we go. I didn't even need to reload. I still have ink on here. So that was a nice quick jaunt of color. And I'm going to mute for a moment because unfortunately it's allergy season, and yeah, that's enough detail on that. And I'm back. Alright, so just a quick rinsing the brush. Well, not rinsing the brush, rinsing the nib. I worry about the nib first, because the nib would get really finicky if I had some dried up acrylic down in this groove. And we don't want that. So I always clean the nib first. The brushes can... Excuse me, I hit my mic. Brushes can generally wait a few moments, so now I'm rinsing the brush. And I'm going to rinse out this well real quick too. I'm just doing this right in my water cup because it's not a lot of pigment. It shouldn't muddy our mixes. Or at least not too bad. So go ahead and just dump that in my water cup. This is why I fill my water cups as high as I do, so I don't have to change them right in the middle. Ideally, I would rather switch back to using 2 water cups, but I have to clean my desk a little bit better. I currently have a pile of papers that they need to go to a home, and I have to figure out where that home is. I'm little chaotic with organization sometimes. It's just one of those. Right now, I can keep moving forward with what I'm doing. So that's what I've been doing. And occasionally I will go ahead and like scrub the palette if I really need to see colors very clearly, or I'll go ahead and grab a fresh one if whichever I feel. I am kind of random about that. That's a really pretty color. Between the ink tests for the Phoenix before and the muted gray, it's kind of like this happy ambery color. It's kind of pretty. Anyway, enough about my water cup. I'll go into the burnt sienna in just a moment here. Shift this over. Oh, he's finally rubbing his eyes. Hey, maybe he'll nap like he should. Alright. Oh, I mistyped hour. The Twitch title for the stream. Final inking for out. Fiery Phoenix instead of for hour. Apparently my typing skills need some work. But, alright, so with the transparent burnt sienna, I think the value is light enough that I'm not going to need to water this down, so I'm going to load right from the dropper. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that once. I tend to be a little leery about doing that on camera just because here's the work. I'd rather not clean up extras if I don't have to. But just nibs nice and dry. I went ahead and I wiped it off after I wet it. A little bit of a scrubbing motion, and then I go ahead and tip it over the ink bottle, which probably didn't show up very well, but alright. I'll do that again. Make sure I'm on camera. So that's still not framed very well. I'm gonna get rid of this zoom. That'll show up better. Alright, so drop of ink down on top and just let it slide down into the bottle. And it's generally mess free, but again, I'm normally leery about doing stuff right by the work. A couple stray marks, you know, you can just use like the spot healing brush on Photoshop, but why do that if you don't have to? I'm going to just pick one of these flames kind of at random to do the first stroke with. That way if I feel I do need to lighten this, it shouldn't be standing out too badly. I think I'll do this big one. That way it seems like it's important if I do decide to lighten it for the rest. Oh yeah, that's too dark. Alright, I'm actually going to just grab this and blot too. That's a bit better. Hopefully that's not stuck. Great, so plan B. I'll be lightening this ink. We'll add some water to it because that was way too dark. I want a little bit of variation. I don't want it to be too high contrast. I'm gonna put this under my red well. I don't know why, but it feels like a lot of these inks, I don't know, I add more acrylic to the same wells that already had acrylic, and I get this effect of like the previous stuff flaking and peeling off, and I don't know if that's the material of the palette or a reaction of, you know, the properties of the ink, but it's kind of weird. So I tend to put similar colors in similar wells. And I hope I caught that sneeze. Like, meaning I muted, I hope. Alright, so currently I rinsed off the nib because I don't want the full strength ink there. And I've done 2 drops of water and plus whatever's still in the brush. I'm gonna check out what the viscosity of it is. See if that feels correct. It's a little watery, but I think it is workable. I think that's workable. Alright, so we'll move on. I do like the subtle hue shift between that flame and the phoenix so far. Hopefully, with this being a little thinned out, it'll look even better. Yep, that looks good. I know with all of these curving shapes, some of these lines are going to be a little bit off from how I'd sketched them. That's okay. For me, it's more important that like that curving flow is preserved. So whatever feels natural for my hand to do when I'm inking is where I'm going with it. Ooh, there's a hair. Ah, that's going to bother me so much. The question is, do I let it get stuck there because once the acrylic dries it's not gonna move, or do I try to fish it out? We got this random itty bitty little round. I'm gonna see if I can lift it straight up. Come on. Yeah. That was a big risk because it could have just dragged across the surface and made its own happy little mess. That went a little off shape. Just go in and tap that point back on because I want my flames to be a little pointy, flowing and jagged. So yeah, part of my debate about what's next is I have... Oh, I think that wound up being randomly sketched. But I'm grabbing the original reference. Well, the original sketch. Did I do like 2 layers? Oh, yes I did. Okay, so I started building my flames down, and then I did these ones on the side, and I didn't completely erase the original. So that's going to be a little interesting looking. So cool. I don't know how I'm gonna connect those. I'm gonna take a quick second to go ahead and reload the brush. Reload the nib anyway. And we'll pop on, say hello on the Twitch if anybody has hopped on into the chat. There you go. So I'm good to keep going. Yeah, I'm really torn on how to reconcile that line. I might just freehand a flame, or I might just keep going with the new ones that I sketched. I'm kinda... This one is fine, so I'm going to do that right now. Yeah, I tried to build this side up a little bit, but I don't know, I'm kind of iffy about leaving it where it is. And give this little extra thing over here. And you know what, I'm gonna do this right side up. And just one more little flame sticking up. And I think I like the shape of that a little bit better. Over here it gets a little sparse and strange too, so I'm going to change how some of this is lined. And I gotta resolve this area. I don't know, maybe a skinny one. Just kind of squished in between these two. That. I think that works. It looks a little funky. I had a flame coming up higher right there that I left out because I was following my old lines. Just goes to show you, when you go ahead and redraw some line work, make sure you remove your old stuff, because sometimes you will forget about that by the time that you get to the inking phase. So yeah, if anything, that's a learn from a bad habit that I got into, apparently. I'm gonna do one of those little thin spots in the flames here. I am trying to be really delicate about it, so I'm not like actually shading, but I'm giving boundaries to the form. And the edges are very ragged, like it could be fur instead. Yeah, he's starting to nod finally. Alright, I'm going to gently bring in the brush here because I have some eraser bits that might get in the way. At least they look like eraser bits. Maybe transfer some junk from my my paper towel when I blotted earlier then. Well, that's slightly annoying. That's alright. About as close to shading as I'm getting on this piece. And that didn't curve as much as I wanted it to. That's okay. It's not a bad shape. Alright, so let's see. I may deal with Photoshop a little bit and clone one of these flames and move it over just to piece it in a little bit better, because I mean, it's not a bad shape, but I feel like this is a missed opportunity as far as spacing wise. Back to upside down, I think, to do this last little bit of flames, just that way I'm less likely to stick my hand in any areas that might be wet. The joys of being a lefty. I mean, you would have to deal with that if you're right-handed, working from the right side to the left side too, but you know what I mean. Sometimes we get in the way of ourselves, which We do a lot. Alright, I should freeform this, but these two edges didn't look like they met. I think I was still sketchy over here when I drew this area in. I'm just going to change the shape of that just a touch. Hopefully I like it. And if not, I'll change it. I feel like that builds up a little bit better than the line work I had. And then this one goes all weird too. I think. Like, I still want it to have that height. I want it to feel a little bit more natural. So have it build up that height from down here instead. And pull it from there. I almost like that one more. I think if I brought out the base a little bit more and had it meet over here instead, I think I would like that even more, but I do like it more than what I had sketched. There's a little bit more movement to it, but meh. Alright, and I need a quick moment for allergies again. Unfortunately, all seasons are allergy season for me because I have environmental allergies as well as like indoor and outdoor allergies. So I'm just allergic to all kinds of stuff. And now I'm looking at it again after having been in like my sketch phase. I think what I'm going to do with a couple of these is actually shrink them just a little bit and maybe move them slightly. Just a few of them. I feel like scale-wise they seem a little bit off. But anyways, let's reload the nib. And then we're going to bring it around for the bottom of our embers to go ahead and finish those off and add that glowing effect. I hope it works. It's a theory. Worst case, I just go in and I'll tone them all similarly in Photoshop. I don't want to, be fumbling around in Photoshop. Well, fumbling is probably a bad word because I have a pretty good ground as far as basics in Photoshop. I've adjusted photos for print. I'm gonna keep up with those random organic shapes. Should the other halves meet really well. Yeah, right now I'm very on the fence about how this looks. Maybe I should have just done the embers all in gray. I don't know how I feel about that, and okay, good, I am in frame. I'll zoom in just a touch. As far as the music currently, I'm still using that music service. I haven't switched over to the stuff that the royalty-free music that I bought. Just because I have not yet listened to very much of it, and there's a lot of it to download. I'm a big fan of Humble Bundle because you can get a lot of good stuff from them for amazing prices, and you're helping out a charity. I'm not affiliated with them, I buy stuff from them because they have a lot of good creative stuff. Like, I have some books, I have some software, now I have music. That's the first time doing a music purchase. It was just like perfect timing. Because if I find all the music that I need from them, instead of playing around in this service where I don't love the navigation. I could just create some playlists in my media player and be done with it. Ooh, I missed one. It's alright, we'll make this a long one down here. That's a nice thing about random organic shapes. A lot of these are showing up kind of angular, but some of them are adding a little bit of shape to them. I am really on the fence about how that looks. Like, it makes sense in my head as far as like if I were doing washes, that I would glaze the top of it with the muted gray, and then go ahead and do a glow in the background with the burnt sienna. But as it currently stands, I'm kind of like, I don't know about this. It's weird because I've seen some like really interesting artistic takes on like leopard spots, like Lisa Frank. She has some wacky color palettes, but it all works because everything's super bright and saturated. I'm wondering, why don't I like that in my own stuff? I mean, I used to collect Lisa Frank stuff as a kid. It's like bright, crazy animals that don't exist. I was always into mythology. Hence why I'm inking a phoenix. And a dragon. Wouldn't have done that if these things hadn't appealed to me already. There's a lot of space between this one. I think there was another shape that I missed. That's alright. I'm not going to just slap some ink over there and make some shading. Nope, line work only. Just in case you're wondering why I am so strictly mentioning that probably a few times by now. For one, I have the memory of a goldfish, so sometimes I forget what I was saying as I'm saying it. But yeah, about the repeating, I am only doing line work because I really love doing cross-hatching and washes with ink. So that is something that you'll see in other works from me. Just not this one. This one is hardcore, like, nope, you have a plan. Stick with the plan. Meanwhile, my brain's like, oh, we had a plan? Let's break that. Let's do something else. Let's do something new. This is why I'm again, not sure that I want to dive right into that print cleanup that I do need to do, because, well, it's the 20th. I have a membership currently for Cricut Access, and I don't use my Cricut very often, but when I do have a project pop up, I tend to, try to use it a little bit more that month while I have that access, and that's due to renew, I think, in 3 days. So I do want to spend like a good day combing through the library. It is coming. I'll let you know that ahead of time. So I'm not sure if I'll be on that train of thought, or if I'll be on to the other print that I need to get done. So that's the part that's up in the air, is which one am I dealing with, because both are, to me, time sensitive. I think I'm gonna bring this tip up a little further, even though I just cleaned my nib. I haven't yet cleaned out my brush and the well yet. So we'll take another second. Now I want to extend that by maybe like a millimeter. Just one of those things about flames where they look so much more elegant to me when the edges are brought up just a little bit more. Like that. We'll do that down here too. We'll do it this way, curving that way. It might bring this a little bit dark, so how far I joined that one, but that's an easy adjustment to knock that down just a touch. Let's see, are there any more? Just that slight elongation. It's so appealing to me. I am actually tempted to adjust a line, even though this is not the same shade. But this line doesn't actually meet. I want this to be fully enclosed. I don't know. No, I'm completely off frame for that. I just connected this line for the fiery crest to the head, and then I tapped on this little bit here because that was really, really, really fine. I'm also gonna go in here. These are close enough in value, I think it works. And I'm gonna connect this one too. And the reasoning for making sure everything runs together is for anybody who might be taking this print and doing like digital coloring, like pop it in Photoshop, getting the line work on one layer and just dropping, like using the paint bucket tool or something like that, to go ahead and color it in. I want these spaces to be closed off. I'm a little less picky about that with the flames. Like they'll just have to create like a closed off base for that, but for the Phoenix, I want to make that, you know, specifically set. These are all one shape, so I don't mind them filling into each other. But yeah, just subtle little things to keep in mind for some other people's uses, you know, potentially what they might decide to do with the digital file. So there's that. At this point, I think it's just a little bit of cleanup work. I still see like a couple little spots where I can remove graphite, especially in the flames. I kind of went freeform on a couple. That is cleanup work, and we will deal with that with scanning and whatnot. I think I'm at a point with the Dragon and the Phoenix that they'll probably start getting shared on media. I think. I have a little bit of cleanup work on that too. Wow, I'm actually early. Yeah, I still have a whole 8 minutes for the usual hour here. Let's take a look on Twitch, see if anything's happened. Nope, looks like everything's good. I'm going to probably zoom out and you can take a look at the Phoenix as it is. I'm gonna curve this top ever so slightly. I could just bring the camera a little bit closer to me since I'm not going to be leaning. I tend to move it back just a touch so I'm not smacking myself in the head. I probably could do a couple more like little embery bits over here. But I also plan on cutting this off. I'll go ahead. Let's grab a ruler. I give like an idea of like a visual cutoff probably here. What else do I have? I have some scrapbook paper on the side. This is all pretty dry. Oh, I need to get my brush and water. Before I get too carried away with this, I need to at least rinse the brush. You can clean out a brush that is all caked with acrylic, but it's one of those, like, why do that extra effort when you could just do a quick bit of brush maintenance right there on the spot? So it's clean out. It's still wet, but it'll be fine right there. I'm just gonna move my palette off up here and kinda. That's probably about where it's gonna get cut off. Something like that. I'll go ahead and make sure it's squared up when I, actually go to crop it. So a bunch of this is getting cut off up at the top, but that'll probably be about how it's framed. It'll be framed pretty tight. And just a lot of upward movement. And this one's probably not as solid as the other one as far as composition wise. The other one, well, especially if I bring the clouds to draw you down into the middle, but the mountains come up to go ahead and lead your eye in that way. The shape of the dragon, lead your eye around, then you bring this back to the focal, the ball here in the face. So just generally, S shape is a really satisfying composition. And I feel like my phoenix is kind of, you kind of get an S shape because of the wing. That's just, here in Western world, we tend to look at things from like top left as our eye comes in, and then it follows it down. I feel like this one really builds more from the bottom, which is a little bit of an unusual composition. I really like it though, so that's why I went with it. Not everything needs to be perfect there. I feel like that shape could be rounded out a little bit further. That's alright. I definitely like it. I could have saved myself a lot of time mixing and have just done the whole thing with the burnt sienna, but I kind of like the two-tone and how that seems to bring more of the focus up to the phoenix. I think it makes the phoenix a little bit more prominent. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, so I'm rambling about composition now. It's good stuff to ramble about. But yeah, tomorrow is either some detail work for the other print, which that's the one that I'll occasionally mention because of my lament about paper tearing. It sucks when paper tears, especially when you don't want it to have. Ooh, I need to put that away. And just futz it with my desk for a minute while I get my thoughts straightened out. It's funny how that works for me. I'll be organizing stuff and it's just a little bit soothing as far as processing thoughts. But yeah, so that painting, is that pad still here? Yes, it is. Alright. So this one will be a little bit of back and forth as far as the finishing process. I'm going to slide my ink back this way. This is probably dry enough that nothing's going to move, so I'll just pop that vertically on the side of my desk. But, ooh, here's exactly the problem. So, I noticed that the edges of this block were getting slightly moved, where like the paper edges were being just dinged enough where I was a little concerned. So what I did was I taped both edges. This one still has tape on it. Because the sides are open. This is a fluid 100 easy block. It's a new type of paper for me, but I was happy to experiment with it. Apparently the tape that I'm using is too strong in strength. I don't know how well it's going to show up for you guys, but you see I have some really significant paper tearing because I taped this section off to make sure nothing was running over. I taped these sides to make sure that, being in my bag, traveling with it, wasn't going to cause damage to the paper, and instead, I damaged the paper by using this masking tape, which really sucks. I'm really pleased with how this came out, but now I need to remove masking tape adhesive because once I saw it started to cause a tear over here, I broke out my my heat gun. And I tried to use my heat gun. I didn't go as heavy on this side, so this side's only slightly tacky in some spots where having used the heat gun, it made the adhesive stick to here instead of peeling off. So I've made myself a bigger mess by trying to fix the paper tearing. This side's quite tacky because I went really heavy with the heat gun on this side because I was trying to stop the paper from peeling and possibly taking the art. Once I saw that little bit of paper tearing, I put it down. I scanned this because I didn't want to take the risk of when I removed the rest of the tape, if it might remove part of the image with it. So I already have a scan with the tape in place, and I'll be able to remove that digitally in Photoshop. But I also want to do something with this original to go ahead and protect it and preserve it. And basically the first steps with that will be me using a solvent to hopefully clean up this. I did use some colored pencil, so I need to be very delicate with where my line work is. That this is actually a mixed media, so I need to be really careful that the solvent doesn't go too far and starts to blend my colored pencil, because I don't want to lose those details that I have. So I need to, remove the tackiness. Then I'm going to add some additional treatments to the paper, which will be in the form of either ink or watercolor washes. Like, I'm actually going to push the edges of this to make it look really old, an intentional antiquing on it. And then lastly, to go ahead and seal everything, because some of the edges of the paper are exposed, I'm going to want to give this a seal with cold wax medium. I know cold wax medium will seal watercolors just fine. It's a little bit of an experiment to see how it's going to deal with go over the the colored pencil. It should be fine on the acrylic. I used acrylic ink for my line work on this one, so that's why I said that this one's mixed media, because all the lines are acrylic ink, most of the color is watercolor, and then I worked some details with colored pencil. So it's an interesting mix. And I also have to do work on summer. Summer's going to be coming up next. I'm going to do it in a very similar style. My original thought was that while this was on the block, I could just pop summer right here because it's half a sheet exactly. But with all this paper tearing, I don't want to do that. So rethinking my idea there. So I might wind up doing that with the next sheet of this block, now that I'm a little bit more familiar with it. Let's see, what else? I think the only thing that is also ink is this. I think that's also acrylic. But anyway, yeah, I can't wait to work on the summer one. I have ideas for it. Minor digital tweak, because part of my wash got away from me there. And I couldn't get it to lift back to white, and that's okay. That's easy to modify. So yeah, there's that. It's really gorgeous. I'm really happy to have worked on it. It's really different as far as other work that I've done. I haven't played with painting as much foliage and floral arrangements, and I really enjoyed the process on this, and mixing colored pencil and watercolor, because both are fairly new to me. I'm a lot more familiar with ink and graphite. That's what I did for a very, very long time. So that's one of my favorite things to do, even while I'm doing like color work, is to go into my camera settings and to do convert the image over to black and white, just to make sure that there's enough value to lend good visual contrast. And that's, excuse me, and that's just practical for me while I'm learning color, because having come from such a value-driven place, I want to make sure that I'm not just using the same value with different colors, because what happens when you do that is the image is washed out. It's really flat and uninteresting, and you need that variety of value, especially for, like, in my case, I have a friend who's colorblind. If I don't have value variations in my color, then if he looks at it, it will literally look flat. So you know, it's a little bit party specific in my case as far as that, but these are things that I try to look out for in order to make better work. So, you know, without a range of value, things are really, really boring. But yeah, so the toss-up is between either going back and forth, because this will be a multi-step process. I'll be removing the adhesive, waiting for it to dry, putting the washes on, waiting for that to dry. That'll probably be an overnight thing. I'll want to make sure that this is absolutely bone dry before I go ahead and do the sealing layer, and I don't know if that's interesting for you guys to watch. So, you know, this is definitely a 2-day process, as opposed to I only have 3 days left to play around with Cricut Access and make sure I feel like I kind of got my value out of this month, because I only did one project for a friend. So I don't know. I really like a lot of the I think it's Leah Griffith. There's Anna Griffin does a lot of, yeah, that's right, Anna Griffin with the paperwork, and then she does like cards and florals and really pretty kind of like Victorian things. Not specifically Victorian. A lot of her stuff is kind of like a modern take on it, which is what I was kind of hoping to capture here, is like a kind of a modern floral. Has that timeless type of vibe to it. But yeah, Anna Griffin does really gorgeous stuff. That's part of the reason why I like to get Cricut Access, is getting access to some of like the print and cut stuff. I'll probably pop that into my my planner, which that project needs to progress. I got a whole lot of digital assets to go ahead and work with that, so I'm planning probably some note papers, stuff like that, to go ahead and create some digital products. So these will be more on the design side than the art creation side. Because the planner is, like I said, a very, very aesthetic thing. I've gone ahead and put the dividers in, so I've moved my notes around the dividers, but the big thing I need to do there is to go ahead and name all my divider tabs. And I'm going to do that with some foil stickers. That will be coming up in the very near future, because that's one of the first things I want to do before I start really decorating those dividers. Oh, sorry, this turned into a little bit of a ramble past time, but I'm wrapping things up right now. Yeah, so that's just where my brain is at as far as the next project or two, and that's going to be over the next 3 days. So hopefully I have all of what I just said wrapped up within the next 3 days, and I don't know if I'm going to be decorating my divider tabs with you guys. You know, you'll have to let me know, pop something into the chat if you're interested in seeing how that unfolds. And I'll be also getting into some of the summer plans. So for the course of this next month, I have stuff to do for Father's Day. I have stuff to do prepping for the flower show. I want to probably work on a floral or two and do those pretty much like as quickly as possible. So that's going to be a real challenge for me, because I tend to be a little bit slow, but I want to work on some maybe like figurative slash gestural style sketching. And oh yeah, I need to check my calligraphy, not my calligraphy, my fountain pen. So the first video where I loaded it up with ink is when I loaded it, and basically I'm just doing tests here and there to see if this ink has dried out. I just need some scrap paper somewhere. We'll use this from the swatches, and that's where I wrote hi when I first filled it. So hello again. Nice. So yeah, this seems to be a solid enough cap that it's not attempting to leak everywhere. I'm actually going to take a look at the reservoir to see how full it still is. It's about half. So hopefully you got good enough contrast. You can kind of see that barrel and ink rolling around. But I really like this grape ice pop. It's such a lovely color. I'll probably do a reload soon-ish if I find... I don't know. Right now I'm enjoying this color, so it's probably going to stay for a bit. But rambling is over. Or I should say, ramblings aside. Yeah, we have some final detail stuffs to do with prints. So I'll probably take a day off from the Phoenix and the Dragon just to give myself a little bit more space from them before I'm going into the final details, just because I want to do that with like fresh eye. So I'll probably go into either the print or some of that digital work, and you'll get to see a variety of either me doing like inputs from my computer so you can check out what's going on, or stuff along those lines. I'll probably switch over to the playlist I bought for that digital work, just so I'm not like putting that music service on blast that I was kind of fumbling with that trial. Because I don't want to throw them under the bus, especially if it's like stuff that I didn't understand. Like, that's not fair to them if I didn't, fully comprehend it. And yes, customer experience is a thing, but if I don't, I didn't look around in that service and see like, oh, here's how you do this, here's what you can expect from that. So some of this might be just my own fault, and I don't feel like that's fair to them. So that's why I don't talk about who it is when I'm talking about my experience with it, because it might be unfair for them. Boy. Okay, so oh yeah, that's right. Moving back to the Phoenix down here so I can get ready to do the shot for my thumbnail. And the inks over here, ink tray over here. So basically I'm just starting to prep for the thumbnail anyway. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I hope that you were entertained, and thank you for joining me today. As always, keep drawing, painting, sketching, inking, do all the things. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.